Hey Jubei. So I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about Game of Thrones. Not last night, Monday night. What was it? It's Wednesday night right now. Game of Thrones from Monday night. Dance of Dragons. There's not a lot to cover in that episode. Not that it was a dull episode, but I'm going to continue the trend that I started in the last episode, whereby I'm only going to really talk about the things that effectively not mattered, but the major plot points. Everything else was a little bit of didn't really advance any of the storylines further. The Dorne storyline, I have no idea what they thought they were doing with it. Nothing's really happened. Everyone's just kind of settled their differences and they're going home. Um, the Arya plot, she's got a hit on this guy, but then she finds Meryn Trant, one of the first people on her list. So she's going to go, oh, won't they kill, will she kill him? I hope so. That whole thing with like, too old, too old. Okay, so in case you didn't like him, in case you didn't dislike him enough, he's a pedophile. So there's that now. So yeah. Okay, but anyway, I need full spoilers on this, complete and utter spoilers. But we have to talk about. There are only two things worth talking about in this episode: the Stannis and Shireen business. Ramsay made good on his promise, and with 20 good men, didn't level, but he's destroyed some of Stannis's forces. Some horses are dead. Some people left in the night. They've lost a few men. The men are starving in the snow. It's all too much. Stannis is desperate. He sends Davos off to the Castle Black to send Jon Snow to send men and supplies, and then when he comes into his own, he'll send enough men to fortify all 19 castles on the wall. All well and good. Davos is like, look, can I at least take your family? So my family stays with me. What happens next is not Davos. Davos is gone. Oh man, I was drinking during this episode. I was not prepared for this. I was in a very vulnerable state. Right, so Davos has a nice little sort of goodbye with Shireen, and then Stannis comes in and he has one last moment with Shireen and says, "Oh, what are you reading? Oh, that's nice." Sometimes the world doesn't leave a man a choice, and he has to make the hard decision because it's the only decision he has. And Shireen volunteers. She's like, "Listen, if there's anything I can do to help, I'll do it." And she has no idea what she's signing up to, but she does it. And because she has royal blood, she's burnt to the stake. And it's so difficult to watch. And I don't want to be this guy, but it's not in the books. So it's all the more heartbreaking. And fair play to that actress. The shrieks that were coming out of her, it's so heartbreaking. Melisandre says it. She just performs the ritual so nonchalantly. Her mother, Selyse, just comes out and she's like, she hasn't given a damn about this girl for the entire show, but she cracks at the last second. It's like, this is wrong. This is wrong. We have to stop her. Stannis sends men to intervene. You can see there are a few shots of his guards who they're so uncomfortable with this, and it's not exactly character assassination because Stannis has been burning men alive now for all this time. It's not that much of a stretch. But at the same time, we'd grown to like Stannis as an audience. He's the last man standing from the War of the Five Kings, He's the only one who gave a damn about the Night's Watch on the Wall. He came to rescue them, and he respects Jon Snow. He's going to take the North back from the Boltons, who we all hate. And then this shit happens. It's just, and it was predicated because Melisandre did say to Stannis at one point, and Selyse was like, "You're going to need to bring your daughter with you whenever we go to war. She's important." This happened, and it's so tough to watch because effectively we're watching ritualistic murder of a child, and almost more so than the rape scene with Sansa. This was tough. They weren't very graphic with it. I'll give them that. But fuck. Yeah, so that left me so distraught and just in bits because I was not expecting that at all. And I can almost understand if people want to rage quit this show after this because it almost feels like shock writing in that there's not a lot happening with Stannis' storyline. Let's do this. But apparently this suggestion came from George R. R. Martin, so make of that what you will. A lot of the book to show changes from this season I haven't minded because it's then making something happen with characters that haven't had anything happen. And the storylines in those characters' plots are pretty shit, except for the Jamie storyline. That's nonsense. But beyond that, this one troubled me quite a lot, and it left a very bad taste in my mouth. I mean, I was rooting for Stannis. I don't know who's going to follow this guy after this. I don't know what's going to happen whenever Davos comes back. It's the ultimate wrong move. It's trouble. Moving on, because we have to move on. Now, Game of Thrones, it's almost ingeniously written in that if what you didn't like, put you off, stay till the end of the episode, and you'll fall in love with it almost all over again. We go to Meereen. The fighting pits are opened again. We see Daenerys and his Dar's old Larrock lording over it all, with Tyrion by their side, and you see Dariona Harris giving a little running commentary. Oh, when I was in the fighting pits, I was really fast. And then the really muscle-bound dude takes out the quick guy. He's like, there's a nice little tete-a-tete with Tyrion and his Dar about sort of Tyrion kind of disgusted at this. He's like, there's enough blood and death in the world. I don't need to see it in my leisure time. It's nonsense. But he mentions this is tradition. This is the proud city of Meereen. This is what it is. Daenerys isn't great. And then whenever Jorah comes out, and you can see for a few heartbeats, she doesn't want to clap her hands. She doesn't want this fight to start. Not with him. And it's such a heavy, pregnant pause. And then she claps. And then Jorah's just like, all right then. Because look, I'm all for people dying in shows, as long as they go out like a champ. I'll accept it like that. There's a character in Sons of Anarchy who goes out like a champ in one of the later seasons, and that's fine. He's great, and he got a good send off. I was expecting that for Jorah in this episode. I was like, he's gonna go down swinging, and that's great. Turns out, even though Jorah is getting old, he's getting a little bit slower. He's not Batman, he's not Deathstroke, he's not a badass, but he's capable, and he's aware, and he still has enough of his wits about him and his strength about him to master these other guys in the ring, one of whom looked like a rider of Rohan, which was weird. So there's a Dothraki guy in there, there's and he beats, I think there was a Braavosi guy, he had a sword like Needle, that was pretty cool. And he outmasters these guys. It's pretty, it's nifty, dude, it's nice, I liked it. Having said that, after all this happens, Jorah's the last man standing. Good for him. Great. And there's this moment where I've watched the episode twice now since. And you can see everyone's like, no, we didn't want him to win. And it's like the final judgment's up to Daenerys. Like, do we kill this dude or whatever? And you just see there's a moment he looks there and something catches his eye. Picks up a spear, hurls it. And for a split second, oh fuck, he's trying to kill Daenerys. That'd be an interesting twist. No. Better. There was one of the Sons of the Harpy behind her, and he just took that motherfucker out. I'm like, yes, that's why he's my boy. Oh, I love this guy. And then you realize this weird whispering chant comes in, and we see all these dudes putting on the masks all through the stands, and it's like, oh fuck. This is like if you're in a crowded place and all these members of ISIS just stood up and declared themselves. Think of that panic. And then it's pandemonium. It's just chaos. They're slaughtering civilians. They're just running around, just causing mayhem. Everyone's trying to get to Daenerys to wipe that bitch out. Dariona Harris is like, protect the queen! Jorah Mormont fights his way into their ranks. Tyrion even managed to get a quick kill. The other guy, Hizdahr Zolaric, who we kind of thought, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was in on this, because he does show up a little bit late, just like, Oh, just making sure everything's in order. Yes. Maybe he was, and the guy who stabbed him to death didn't get the memo because he's taken out pretty quickly. So make of that what you will. We'll never really know for sure. Having said that, the fight gets pretty grisly. They have to escape into the fighting pits. The gate gets blocked. They're trapped. They take a few motherfuckers out. They end up retreating back, and then they're stuck in the middle of the pit. Like Daario Naharis, there's a couple of Unsullied. The Unsullied, by the way, who are supposed to be like the elite military of this world, are just so underused and really badly, just they're like fucking stormtroopers, man. They can't. They're nigh incompetent. And of course, Grey Worm's still hospitalized, of course, so he wasn't there. So it's just this small circle of our heroes in the middle of the fighting pit as these evil bastards in masks approach. Daenerys closes her hand, just closes her eyes, expect the worst. You hear this cry coming from the skies, and it's Drogon! And he comes right, and he starts Skyriming the shit out of those guys, which was awesome, okay? So he immediately lands down, a few paces in front of Daenerys, chomps a motherfucker in half, and swings him about the place, barbecues some fucks. There's a really great shot where it just shows him firing out these flames whilst Daenerys is standing beside him. It's the best. And she's wearing all white as well. She looks like Galadriel or some shit. It's awesome. He's just stomping. The way he walks as well, somebody told me, it was like, they've played Skyrim. The CGI guys, they've played Skyrim. And the way he walks, the way he yes, perfect, okay? That's what you'd expect a bipedal animal with wings to walk like. It works. It's great. And he's taking guys out. You think he's got it covered, but turns out dragons aren't necessarily immortal. He gets a few spears in him. You see it hurts. He ends up winning back Daenerys' trust, or vice versa, rather. Daenerys wins his trust. She's like, Drogon! He sees her, and he shouts at her, but doesn't give a fuck. She pulls the spear out of him. They have this moment. Daenerys ends up climbing on top of him, and she just goes, fly. And then you see him take off. He takes a running jump, and then she flies, and it's glorious. They just soar out of there, and they leave the rest of the cast kind of going, what was that? And it's just, this is what we've been waiting for since season 1, episode 10, when we first saw those dragons. You're like, I hope this is what kicks off the end game, okay? She's like, I've got dragons. They're big enough. I'm in control. Let's get the fuck to Westeros. Because really, I have nobody to root for there anymore. I mean, Jon's at the wall, Bran's in a tree, but there we go. Those are my thoughts on Game of Thrones this was episode 9, this was the big one, and fuck, did it deliver? Yes, it did deliver, it always delivers, but not in the ways you expected. Fuck me, those are my thoughts on Game of Thrones, season 5, episode 9, A Dance with Dragons. Just as it breaks your heart, it lifts you up right up again and makes you want more. What a drug this show is. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe, view, share, and all the usual jazz. And I'll see you when I see you, YouTube. Adios.